Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery podcast. It's a place where we explore the world of horror in film, television, books, and popular culture. Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Bruce Markison, and as always, joined by my co-host and producer, Tracy Asteria. Tracy, how are you?
I'm doing good, Bruce. I'm really excited about today's guest.
Normally, we begin this program with incredibly intelligent banter about the latest goings-on in the world of horror. But yeah, this week we're going to get right to our guest. I'm looking forward to this one particularly. He is a versatile actor, Matt McCoy, whom I have enjoyed in a lot of different roles: comedy, drama, horror. In an acting career that dates back to the early 1980s, Matt has compiled more than 115 credits in film and TV. He has starred in such horror thriller films as The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, also Abominable. He's had a recurring role in the supernatural HBO series Carnival. Appeared in one of the best films ever made, 1997's LA Confidential. And let's not forget that Matt also had that memorable recurring role in what I think is the funniest TV sitcom of all time, Seinfeld. Matt, thank you very much for being with us. Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery. How are you?
Well, thank you, Bruce, for that intro. I feel like I should travel with you, and you could just throw that intro out wherever I go. That would be great. I noticed you're going to do away with any intelligence during this interview. Is that so? I won't take that personally, Bruce, but I'll try to live up to that.
Yeah. Normally, Tracy and I, we just kind of banter about nonsensical things, and we thought we're going to get away from that and get right to the main attraction. So, Matt, I wanted to talk about how this all began for you. You were telling me you were born in Cincinnati, but then obviously at some point you were drawn to Hollywood. When did you make that decision that you wanted to pursue an acting career?
Well, I wasn't, I mean, being drawn to Hollywood, Hollywood just sort of happened for me. I started, I knew what I wanted to do very early, Bruce. I was very lucky. I was 14 years old and some sort of light bulb went off. And that would have been, I guess, 8th grade or something. Went to high school, went to a great high school in Bethesda, Maryland, Walter Johnson High School, which really fostered the arts. I had wonderful people there. We did things in high school that you just don't seem to do. They may do them now, but they didn't at the time. We did an opera. We did a one-act festival. We did a musical. We did a straight play. And I was certainly a part of all those, just lucky enough. And after leaving high school, I joined a theater company and traveled from Washington, D.C., where we had a theater, down to Atlanta, Georgia, where we had another theater. And I did that for 2 years and realized I had really zero idea what I was doing. And I decided to go to New York and to go to school. And if I was going to make this some sort of career, hopefully, I better get a good foundation for that. And graduated from the neighborhood playhouse and was lucky enough to be on a series about 3 weeks after I graduated. So it's been a magical ride for about 45 years. And it's not lost on me how lucky I am.
Someone like me who's a big baseball fan, I love the fact that you went to Walter Johnson High School.
The big
That's
train.
Terrific.
Yeah, the big train.
And there you became good friends with a guy who has become a terrific baseball writer, a great guy that you know very well, and that's Tim Kirkchin. Tim really helped set this interview up. Curious, were you a fan of baseball? Have you become a fan of the game?
Very much so. I probably became more of a fan when I moved to Los Angeles. It's hard not to love the Dodgers out here, especially with the squad they put together this year. My goodness. I'm surprised they even lose a game. But they're up against the Mets tonight, so I'll watch that. Yeah, I mean, I always joke with Tim that he and I are doing what we did when we were 16 years old. We're just doing it. Tim was writing for the school newspaper, and I was, acting and everything I could get my hands on. And we're really still just doing that 45 years later. So I think he would also consider himself very lucky. But yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, and I was never. I guess I had Yankee season tickets when I lived in New York, which, my goodness, I wished I'd held on to. But a big fan of the Blue Heaven out here.
Yeah. Tim Kirchin pokes a lot of fun at himself for being a nerd, this little guy with the squeaky voice, but he's tremendously knowledgeable about baseball. He's so passionate about the game and just a super human being. I mean, one of the best people. And I think it's great that you guys have remained so close over the years.
Well, we stood next to each other at our weddings. And, I've been married almost 40 years. And Tim about the same. I think Tim's a year before me. So you can't make old friends. You hold on to them. And there was another guy, Jeff Bateman, who was also a part of our Musketeers, and he's still very much in my life as well. So once again, lucky to have them with me.
Oh my goodness. That's so sweet, actually.
Well, it's great. It's really wonderful. Those two guys, I haven't been to many reunions or anything, but Tim and Jeff have been a constant.
So we're going to get started with your early career. You've done a lot of comedy in your entire career. And then in 1989, something different, you did some sci-fi. You appeared in season 3 of Star Trek: The Next Generation in an episode called The Price. How did that role come about for you?
I'm sure through a questionable audition is how it came about. Well, Tracy, you're taking me back. Yeah, that's 30, however many years ago. But like anything back in the day, then when I was, you go in the room and you audition for something, and you read what you read. They give you what they call the sides. They rarely give you an entire script on something, so you're given the sides, and you take your best shot. You interpret it the way that you think it should be interpreted, and you go in there and show them what you got. And, most of the time it's not going to work out, but that one did. And for some reason, that episode has resonated. I think it was the first person that Deanna Troi was with intimately, I believe.
Right.
So what I've been told, I was never really a Star Trek fan, but
Oh, really?
no, I wasn't. So my brothers were, but I met with the casting people. I went in, I got the gig, and I think I met Marianne Sirtis, right? Marianne.
Yes, Martina Sirtis.
Martina
Yeah.
Sirtis. My apologies. Wonderful gal. But we were, I think the first scene we did, we were in bed together. So welcome to Star Trek.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But a beautiful gal, and she couldn't have been more helpful and kind during that shoot. So yeah, it was a very, very nice time.
Oh my gosh. That's I've heard great things about her. Did you get a chance to work with some of the other cast members as well?
No, I knew Jonathan through another Jonathan Frakes. I had known him through another project, but I can't remember what it was, and I doubt that he would either. But and he's directing, I think, a lot of these Star Treks now, isn't he? I believe he is.
He is.
He's done very, very well. A very good guy.
Oh my gosh. Would you ever consider coming back to one of those Star Trek spinoffs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been asked, have you heard something, Tracy? Is there something you'd like to share with me? No?
No, I wish I knew. I wish I knew lots more.
Yeah.
But
No, I just have fond memories. And I've been lucky enough. I've done a couple of things that have seemed to have resonated. Seinfeld was another one where playing Lloyd Braun, I only did 2 episodes of that show, but the character seems to stick and to resonate despite the performance.
No, absolutely. And the Next Generation is like the whole Star Trek franchise is, another icon of TV history. And I grew up with the Next Generation. So,
Oh, did you?
that- yeah, one of my favorite early on sci-fi shows. So,
Well,
thank you for your contribution
you're
to that.
you're more than welcome.
As you can tell, Tracy is a diehard fan of anything Star Trek.
Yeah. I'm picking up on that.
I really first became aware of you, though, in a different film, and it's a great movie that came out 1992. You starred as Michael Bartell, husband to Annabella Sciorra's character in the thriller horror film The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. It's a movie that not a lot of people talk about anymore. I'm not really sure why. I love it. I think it's one of the best horror films that came out in the 1990s. It's terrific. Whenever it's on, I make sure to watch it. I'm curious, Matt, how did this opportunity come about for you?
Well, once again, Bruce, pretty quickly. I knew the casting director on that film, a gal named Junie Lowry Johnson, who's still a force in the business. And I think she even cast Star Trek at the time, Tracy. But I was having breakfast with her and I asked her what she was working on. And she said, well, we're having a hard time finding this part of the husband for this movie. And that was on a Sunday. And I think I went in and met Curtis on Monday morning, Curtis Hanson, who directed that and also directed LA Confidential. And I think I got the job pretty much that day. It's just another example of the angels that are out there and the universe sort of taking care of me, because that was a game changer for me. I had done the Police Academy movies prior to that in the late 80s. But Cradle was a picture we shot up in Seattle for 4 months, and I think it was number one at the box office for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And gosh, it changed my life, as Police Academy did as well. And but this was a big movie, big studio, and it was a game changer for me because it set me on a path after that because of the success of it, where I just was fortunate enough to keep working for a long, long time because of that.
You had a bit of a different look here. You sported a beard in the film. Your decision or director Curtis Hanson?
No, I had the beard when I went in the room, and Curtis liked it. Curtis always had a beard. I think the stars aligned with that. So I've worn a beard quite a bit on different things, and it doesn't get good reviews at home. But
you were just talking about wearing the beard and how Curtis Hanson liked it, but the family doesn't.
Yeah, that still holds true today. The beard comes in a little blonder than it used to, which I'm sure you have the same beard, Bruce. But I like it. It gives me, I'm a thin guy. It gives me a little weight. It gives me a little character. I've worn it for Westerns before. There was something friendly about it up there. Shooting that up in Seattle, it seemed to fit with where we were and that little bit of a granola feel of the picture. I mean, Curtis only wanted sort of earth tones in that movie. If you go back and look at the picture and you look at wardrobe and things, you don't see a lot of blues and you see a lot of greens and browns and things like that. Curtis was very exact with what he wanted.
Matt, one of the things I'm really curious about when an actor makes a really good film like you guys did with The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, I'm curious, as you're making the movie, do you realize how good it's going to be? Or does that wait until the final edit? I mean, do you have a clue as it's going on that, yeah, this is something special?
I don't know that you, I don't know that you ever do, Bruce. I mean, I think we were a product of a really good timing as well, too. You had Fatal Attraction that had come out, which, was that same sort of genre. We hit a period what the movie was about was where I was in my life too. I had young kids at home. I had a 5-year-old at home and a 3-year-old at home, and we sort of hit all of those people that were going through that phase in their life where they had young kids, they needed some help, and a lot of times the enemy is right there in your home, and that was that's what made it so compelling. I think the timing was really, really good once it came out. So it was a Disney picture. It was a wing of Disney at the time called Hollywood Studios, which doesn't exist anymore. But it was Disney trying to steer away from the family sort of affair that they were putting out. There were other pictures that came out too under the Hollywood banner. One with Sean Connery and I forget, but they tried to veer away, and we were, I think, the biggest hit they had at the time. So, a true gift. It still plays quite a bit. It holds up nicely.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some great performances here. I mean, you did a terrific job. Rebecca De Mornay was outstanding as the villain, Peyton Flanders.
Yeah.
Ernie Hudson, whom I had a chance to talk to a number of years ago at a convention, was phenomenal playing a handyman with a disability.
Yeah.
Very tricky role to handle, and I thought he nailed it.
He did a great job. Annabella Sciorra, as my wife, too, was terrific. Julianne Moore, that was one of her first pictures. And, she went on to, to just do such great work, and still to this day doing such great work. So we had a great cast. Curtis, any director will tell you, hopefully the job is done. The most important thing is casting, and he put a really wonderful group of people together.
Matt, have you been able to keep in touch with any of the actors from this movie?
Well, I saw Ernie. We did a picture together 4 or 5 years ago. I hadn't seen him since then. I get a Christmas card from him every year, as he does from us. He's a good friend. Nice. Ernie's having great success now with Ghostbusters, with the reinvention of that. No, Annabella, I haven't talked to in a while. She lives in New York. I'm in Los Angeles. Rebecca, I do see every once in a while. But you're so, a location and a set it's an interesting experience. You're very tight. You're very close during the time, and everybody goes their separate ways sometimes. So it's, everybody's on to different things. And
Matt, let's talk about another horror film that you did, albeit a very different one, in Abominable, which came out in 2006. I think kind of a fun movie, but it also has a serious premise. You play a man, Preston Rogers, who has a physical disability that comes out from an accident in the mountains. And you spend almost the entire film in a wheelchair. And I imagine that had to pose some challenges for you.
Interestingly enough, I am right now back in Idlewild, California. And I don't know that you know Idlewild, but it's where we shot Abominable. I love Abominable. And that was a real leap of faith. It was a first-time director, Ryan Schifrin. And he's a guy I played tennis with. And he brought me that script on the court one day and said, would you be interested in doing this with me? And I think we shot that with zero money, and probably in 13 days, 14 days, something like that. I like that picture. I think it's, I'm privy to how we did it and how it came out. And I think that's why I like it even more, because of what we accomplished in a very short amount of time, pretty much in one location. That was Ryan's parents' house that we shot that in. And, I'm reacting to things going on around me, which Ryan would just say, okay, here's what's going on now. And so it was a real leap of faith, but one that I'm really happy that I took with him. And we've been trying to do a sequel of that too, Bruce, for years.
Really?
And hopefully the medical community has caught up with us and I could get out of that wheelchair. We haven't quite put it together yet.
In addition to being in the wheelchair, I think another challenge, and I just rewatched the movie a few days ago, But you spend a lot of time in the film. You're looking out from your house toward these young women who are in the house next door.
Yeah.
And you're trying to warn them, and you're trying to sort of keep in touch with where this monster is. And you have to talk to yourself a lot. So it seems like no one to bounce lines against. I would think that has to be difficult.
You're right on the nose. Plus, that house, I was not looking out at anything. I was looking out at a camera lens because they're shooting me. I'm looking into the lens. So that's what I mean. Ryan would say, here's where you're looking now. Here's what's going on now. And I spent a lot of time. I go back to the leap of faith because, that can turn out horribly wrong. And it seemed to have worked in this. So I credit Ryan with that and his direction, towards me. So, what was great in that was the special effects. The guy who played my assistant there, and my goodness, his name escapes me. He also did the special effects. He did the Bigfoot, and he's a top drawer guy. You call in a lot of favors when you do little movies. That's what you do. And he called in that favor. He called in a favor to me. And there's something nice about all being in it together, knowing that no one's getting paid.
Yeah, kind of an overachieving film and a fun film because you've got cameos from these great horror actors: Jeffrey Combs, Lance Henriksen, Dee Wallace. I know you didn't have scenes with them, but did you get to meet them?
Yeah, I met them when Ryan premiered it. Geez, you're going back again almost 20 years, Bruce, or 18 years, So, but Dee, I'd worked with on another project. Once again, Jesus, don't have me come up with that. These were, once again, I think he called in favors for Lance and for Jeffrey, I believe.
Yeah. Two other notable actors in the film as well. Phil Morris, who would also play in Seinfeld, and the son of the great actor from
I had forgotten that, Bruce.
Mission Impossible. You had a brief scene with him at the end. He's like I believe a sheriff, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul Gleason, the late Paul Gleason, is also a lawman, and he's toward the end of the film as well. Thoughts on those two guys?
Well, I have to tell you, I've forgotten. Phil was in that at the end. That's right, and Paul Gleason too from 60. Well, from what? From
Breakfast Club.
From Breakfast Club, yeah. I'm going to sound terrible here. I forgot those guys were in it. I honestly did, because my focus was we shot so much in the house, and Haley, who played the blonde girl opposite me there, she turned out to be a great friend. And but those guys are kind of iconic, Phil and Paul both. I saw Phil last year at some sort of Seinfeld get together, and I see him in a commercial now. I think he was doing a lot of those commercials for the basketball TNT. I think I saw Phil there, but I think Paul has passed, hasn't he, Bruce? I believe.
He died a number of years ago. I met him at the Hall of Fame ceremonies. I think you know that I work at the Hall of Fame, and it was the year, I believe, that Tommy Lasorda was inducted. And I saw Paul in the crowd and recognized him from Die Hard, in addition to the Breakfast Club.
Face.
And he played minor league ball, huge baseball fan, and apparently was great friends with Tommy Lasorda.
Well, he was right where he should be then, huh?
Yeah. Another interesting role that I'd forgotten you were a part of. This was a television series that was on HBO in the early 2000s, and it was only on for a couple of years, even though it was really good. Carnival.
Yeah.
You had a recurring role as a local councilman, and I thought it was a phenomenal look at what an early 20th century carnival was like, but it also had a supernatural twist to it. I'm curious, how did you enjoy doing that one?
I enjoyed it very much. I mean, I liked that period. I loved the wardrobe. The people, there were some really talented people on that. Nick Stahl, who was the lead on that. I had done a television movie with him and Mary Lou Henner years before, and Nick played my son on that. But the period was terrific. Anytime you can get your hands on stuff like that. And, there were some really great people involved in that. I think it was ahead of its time, Bruce, a little bit. HBO was still finding their legs as well. And that could have gone on a whole lot longer. There was quite a bit there right for 3, 4, 5 seasons, I think. But I played kind of a slimy guy, as I remember, which, was not a long drive. But really, really good memories there. They transformed this studio out in Valencia, California, into that circus. So you really walked onto that set, and you didn't need a lot of motivation to carry on for the day. They really transformed it.
Yeah. I'm curious if you got to know Adrienne Barbeau at all, because I've had the privilege of interviewing her, and she's terrific. Do you know Adrienne?
Say it again. Got to know who? I'm sorry.
Adrienne Barbeau, who's in that as well.
Yeah. No, I don't think we had any work together.
No.
Adrienne Barbeau. But yeah, no, I can't add to that. I wish I could, but she can't add to it either, because I don't think we ever met.
Really? Okay.
I don't believe so. That's the thing about working sometimes. When I did Jack Ryan, the first year of Jack Ryan on Amazon, and we were in Marrakesh, Paris, Montreal. I never met John Krasinski.
Really?
So you just work in different silos sometimes on movies. And, a lot of times you just don't see the other folks in the episode or in the movie.
Yeah. It's interesting with Adrienne. She has done a lot of horror films over the years.
Yeah.
Of course, she was married to John Carpenter back in the 70s and 80s. But she doesn't like horror at all. She doesn't watch the movies. She doesn't know much about the history of horror, but yet she does such a great job in these films. In our remaining minutes, Matt, I wanted to ask you about some non-horror roles, because they're really significant. Probably my favorite non-horror film of all time was the movie that you were in 1997. In my mind, should have won the Academy Award. And that was L.A. Confidential. Tell us about working with Kevin Spacey and Danny DeVito, among others.
Well, once again, I'll start with Curtis Hanson. Curtis Hanson directed that, and he asked me if I'd come in and read for this part. Once again, I had worked with him for so long in the past, but he still wanted me to come in to read for this part, because it was a dragnet sort of part. It was playing the part on the television, but what a great cast. My goodness. Kevin, who I got to know a little bit back then, I just watched because he was so at ease on the set. He was so at ease ad-libbing or putting something in that wasn't on the page. Danny, I didn't have a whole lot to do with. Most of my work was with Kevin, and also, who's the other gentleman from Australia who was on The Mentalist?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know the actor you're talking about. Yeah, blonde-haired actor. Yes.
Yeah. I forgot. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. But I got to know him a little bit. Simon Baker.
Simon Baker. Yes.
Worked with him on The Mentalist as well a couple of years after that. So I was just really happy to be on that set and to be among those people that I was among. Now there was one that you sort of knew was going to be good and was going to be a hit because of Dante Spinanti, who shot that. It was a real piece of art. Kim Basinger, who won the Academy Award, and I think Curtis won for writing. I think he won a screenwriter on that, but it didn't win Best Picture. I don't remember what won Best Picture that year, Bruce.
Well, it was Titanic.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. And not to knock Titanic, it's a great movie and it did tremendous box office, but I really thought LA Confidential was the better movie.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who won that year? I lost
Titanic.
Oh, Titanic did.
Yeah, it was Titanic. Yeah.
What a slacker movie that was. Huh?
Low budget.
Yeah, low budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know it was Titanic. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So Curtis, after working with you in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, he approached you about LA Confidential?
He did. I think he asked me on the golf course if I'd come in and read for this part. It was, it was very Dragnet-like, very clipped sort of dialogue. That was a big movie. There was a lot going on. There were, if you look at the scene where I'm dancing, there's a big ball or something going on, a big gathering. It's amazing. I think there were 4, 5, 6 cameras running during that. So that's what Curtis did. He wanted things to flow so much, and there were cameras. I'm probably missing 2 or 3 that were running that time because it was he was just so good at what he did.
The script had a nice nod to Jack Webb because they had that line that you said, and I think Kevin Spacey said, "Just the facts, ma'am, just the facts."
Yeah. That's that was my template to go by in that picture. Yeah.
Or maybe you ad-libbed it. I don't know. Was it in the script?
No. It was in the script. I wouldn't dream of taking credit for that.
One other project we want to talk about, nothing to do with horror at all, but we would be remiss if we did not talk about your appearance. 2 episodes of the great sitcom Seinfeld. You very memorably played Lloyd Braun. It's only 2 episodes. It seems like 5 or 6 because you made a stamp, you made an impression with that role. How did this part come about? Because this was a return to comedy for you.
This Seinfeld, I went in the room once again. Jerry and Larry were in the room, just the 2 of them, and I didn't have a whole, I didn't have the whole script. This guy just got out of a mental institution. He was working for the Dinkins campaign. And he was, so if somebody tells you that, you sort of make some decisions, you make some choices, and you run with it. And I guess the choices I made seem to work out and resonate with them. I've run into Larry David a couple of times on a golf course, and he's been very kind to me. And as I say, those seem to resonate. I replaced a guy. There was a guy that was Lloyd Braun before me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but it's out there every day somewhere. And the great thing about Seinfeld is, too, the first episode I shot, I believe there was a studio audience. And then the studio audience, as the show progressed, they abolished it because the studio audience would sort of get ahead and they would ruin the joke.
Really?
They were so invested in those characters that the studio audience was a hindrance as opposed to something helpful for the show then. So they knew where the laughs were. My goodness. Jerry Stiller and people like that. My goodness, they were just so great to work with because Jerry Stiller, you didn't know what was coming out next, so you had to really pay attention. And Michael Richards as well. If they'd have run that camera another 3 seconds when Michael's eating that hot dog in that scene, I'd have been on the floor laughing. I just tried to stay out of the way of those folks. I really did, as I did on Silicon Valley too. These people were really, really funny folks, and you just stay out of the way. You do your best and don't get in the way of their brilliance.
Did you really want to eat that hot dog?
Well, Michael was trying to save me on that, as he did. But oh my gosh, I think we did 2 or 3 takes of that, and one was better than the next. Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
I look back on those really, really fondly.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you kept a straight face through some of those scenes.
Yeah.
I just rewatched those episodes a couple nights ago, and I'm a huge Seinfeld fan as well, and those 2 episodes never failed to crack me up.
Yeah. Just gum buddies and selling computers, and if computer's not plugged in, and Serenity Now. I think somebody stops me every couple of days and shares that with me. So
Oh gosh.
these are all really wonderful things in my life.
Oh wow. So you often get recognized as Lloyd Braun?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
As I say, you're around a long time. The people are gonna, they're gonna recognize you from something. So,
Right.
I always welcome it. People are really kind, and the fact that you've done something that touches other people and makes them smile or makes them laugh or makes them think about something. Geez, that's hard to beat, isn't it? My goodness.
Oh my gosh. Brings me back to happier times,
Yeah.
back in the 90s, right? Because we're going back that far. It's just
Yeah.
it was a great time.
You make people smile.
That's right.
And geez, we should all be so lucky.
Oh gosh. Well, I definitely appreciated your episodes of Seinfeld. And I just want to say I also appreciated your roles in Police Academy too. So that's one of my favorite, series of movies. And
well, thank you. I just had dinner before I came up here with Paul Maslansky, who's 90 now. Paul Maslansky started the Police Academy movies.
Wow.
And I think he's been trying to reboot them for a while, a new generation. And but he's doing really well, and we shared a meal together about a week ago. So
nice.
he's a good man.
Matt, I had just one more question before we finally let you go for good, and that's about your upcoming projects. I know that you're doing some filming now. I'm not sure if you can talk about it, but what's on the radar for you in the next few months, next year or so?
Well, you haven't heard anything, have you, Bruce? Because I'm wide open.
I have not.
I'm shooting a Christmas movie now up here in Idlewild, California, and I think it's a working title, so I don't know what they're going to call it. But I'm working with some young folks who are killing it out there, and I'm playing a dad in this, which is a role that I cherish in my life. And it should be out around Christmas time, and we'll finish it up here. It's funny shooting a Christmas movie in April, but there's a lot of fake snow up here, and there's a lot of Christmas ornaments everywhere I turn. And I never know what's next, to be honest, and that's part of what I love about what I do. I'm at a time in my life that I try to take my wife with me if I'm on location, and hopefully opportunities will come for that. I was down in Mexico shooting the Mosquito Coast, which just came out last year with Justin Theroux. We finished that up, and that's on Apple TV. I just continue to get lucky to work. I think the longevity that I've had for so many years is really what I take great pride in. The fact that I'm still doing what I love to do. There was never a plan B, and I'm really fortunate that Plan A continues to work out for me.
You mentioned your wife, Mary. You two, I believe, have been married now since 1985.
That's right. 38 years, 3 kids. I've got 5 grandkids. And my gosh, I'm the luckiest guy you'll ever meet. And I'm lucky to meet you folks here today. I appreciate your support and your interest in what I've been doing for such a long time. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Oh, it's been so great to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we really appreciate your time. I'm a big fan of what you've done. We've talked about some of the roles, but there are others too. And look forward to more from Matt McCoy. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Tracy, so much for your
Thank
kindness
you.
and for reaching out to me.
Our guest has been Matt McCoy. We'll continue with the Ghostly Gallery podcast in just a moment. We continue on this episode of the Ghostly Gallery podcast. Again, our thanks to longtime actor Matt McCoy, terrific guy, very generous with us. We're going to have a little bit of fun now for the next few minutes as we take a horror quiz. And this comes to us. This was actually printed, Tracy, in a newspaper that we get here in upstate New York, the Albany Times-Union. And I don't know if they came up with it or maybe it's a syndicated feature that they got from somewhere else, but it's kind of fun. Movie quiz, 100 Years of Horror. And they featured 10 questions. We're not going to do all 10. I picked 5 out, and we're each going to try to answer them. I have not looked at the answers, so we are both working on an even field here.
Okay.
So here's the first question. Which of these 1920s silent films was nominated for an Academy Award? Was it The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Nosferatu, or The Phantom of the Opera?
Oh, I'm going to have
Which
to
of the
say
three do you think?
Nosferatu.
You're going to go with Nosferatu for the
am.
Academy Award. I really have no idea. This is going to be a complete guess on my part. And I'm going to go with Phantom of the Opera just because Lon Chaney Sr. was so famous.
Oh,
So
yes.
I'm going to guess Phantom of the Opera, but like I said, that's just completely out of the blue. So we'll see how we do at the end when we read the answers. All right, so that was the first question. Second question, it's kind of a long one, so bear with me. The 1930s, especially with the advent of sound and motion pictures, is for many the pinnacle of horror filmmaking. I'd probably agree with that. You've got actors like Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff becoming screen icons. Behind the camera, one of the brightest lights was James Whale, director of Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and The Invisible Man. What Oscar-winning 1998 movie is a fictionalized take, on Whale's later life in the 1950s? So this one is not multiple choice. I actually, I don't remember the title of the movie, but I know it's with the actor from it's a science fiction movie that I know that you have seen with Hugh Jackman. He plays, what's the character he plays, Tracy?
Oh, Wolverine.
Yeah. What are those movies called?
That's bad of me. Is it the X-Men?
Yeah, the X-Men movies.
Okay.
Okay, so this British actor, older gentleman, is it Ian McClellan? Is that his name?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so.
So I'm pretty sure he's in this movie, and I think he might play James Whale if I'm trying to remember. I just can't remember the title. I mean, I can see the visuals. You have any idea what it is?
I do not. I can't even fathom a guess on that one.
Yeah.
I'd have to phone a friend.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have that option. So we're both going to kind of draw a blank. But Ian McKellen is in the movie. Really well done. Our late friend David Scull, the terrific horror writer and historian, loved this film. And I think he was actually involved in some behind-the-scenes ways in it. But we're both drawing a blank on the title. All right, so we'll go on now, Tracy, to question number 3. Workhorse 1940s horror actor Creighton Chaney was rechristened Lon Chaney Jr. after his legendary Man of a Thousand Faces father, who died in 1930. True or false? So we have 50-50 on this one. Throughout the decade, Chaney Jr. appeared on screen as the Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy, and Count Dracula. True or false? He did all 4 of those roles. I know this one.
I'm going to say false. I don't.
Say true.
Say true.
Yeah,
now
it's
I have
definitely
to.
true.
Is
Yeah,
it
Lon
true?
Chaney
Now,
Jr., he did all 4.
really?
Yeah. He's best known as the
Really
Wolfman,
true.
which I think he
Right.
did 5 times. But he did Frankenstein once. He did Dracula once. I think he did the Mummy a couple times.
Yes.
But I'm 100% sure on this one.
Oh my goodness.
So let's go. We're both going to go true on that one.
Okay. And now I have to do my homework.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he's surprisingly good as Dracula. He was in Son of Dracula in the 1940s, and nobody talks about it, but he does a really good job in that role. Plays it differently than Bela Lugosi, but still plays it in a very credible way. And kind of looks the part too. Looked like he dropped some weight. He had the slick back hair. He really did a nice job with that.
Interesting.
All right, we got 2 more questions to go. Next up, writer-director George A. Romero acknowledged the inspiration for his seminal and influential 1968 zombie flick, Night of the Living Dead, was a 1954 novel by Richard Matheson. That novel also served as the basis for what 2007 Will Smith film that shared the book's title?
I
know
this
this one.
Legend. Is it Legend?
You're close. You need 2 more words.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. I think we're both going to be right on that. That's a book that's been redone a lot of times, not always in a great way, but Vincent Price did The Last Man on Earth. Charlton Heston did The Omega Man, which is based on that too. Those were 2 pretty good movies. So I Am Legend is our answer on that. Okay. Question number 5, the last question. And it's kind of a long one. So again, bear with me. Horror movies in the 1980s had several local connections, and this is to upstate New York. Ghost Story from 1981, great movie, was filmed partially in Saratoga Springs. Schenectady native John Sayles wrote the low-budget 1980 cult classic Alligator. According to IMDb, 1987's Angel Heart, starring Schenectady-born Mickey Rourke, had a scene shot in Albany, although other sources say it was Poughkeepsie, but either way, it's New York State. So this is a true or false question. All that I just said was a lead up. The 1987 film Dead of Winter, starring Mary Steenburgen and Roddy McDowell, that is set in an upstate mansion, was filmed at the William W. Van Ness House in Claverack, Columbia County. Is that true or is it false?
50-50. I'm going to say that's false.
Okay, you're going to go with false. I'm going to say it's true, because how in the world are they going to make up Claverack County? I mean, how would they come up with that if it's not true? It seems to me it's got to be true.
Well, it could be made up, though.
Yeah, it could be. If they put a lot of work into this, I guess they could make it up.
Yeah.
So you're going to go false. I'm going to go true. All right. So those are the questions. And now I'm going to refer to the answer key. So the first question was the question about the 1920s silent films. Which one or which was nominated for the Academy Award? Was it The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? Was it Nosferatu? Was it The Phantom of the Opera? You said Nosferatu. I said Phantom. And the correct answer is none. They were released before the first Academy Awards were given out in 1929.
Oh.
So this was a trick question. Oh, I hate that. I don't like that.
Well, in my mind, it's got to be Nosferatu.
Yeah. I guess the Academy Awards started in the 1930s. They didn't have them in the silent era.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I don't like that part of the quiz. All right, we'll move on. So we're 0 for 1. The question was about the movie about James Whale, the guy who directed Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, also did The Old Dark House. What Oscar-winning 1998 movie is a fictionalized take on Whale's later life? We kind of surrounded this one. We knew who was in it. It's a great movie, but we didn't know the title, Gods and Monsters.
Oh,
Gods and
yes.
Monsters.
Okay.
And that's a direct quote from Frankenstein. That phrase, Gods and Monsters, was used in the 1931 movie. So that's where they came up with that one from. Oh, we're struggling. 0 for 2. All right. The next question was about Lon Chaney Jr. Is it true or false that he did all 4 of the monster roles? Wolfman, Frankenstein, Mummy, and Count Dracula. You said, well, we both said true. We came to a consensus on that. And we are on the board. True is indeed the correct answer. He did do all 4 of those monster films. So we're now 1 out of 3.
And I owe you for that one.
Yeah, that's okay. So at least we're on the board. We're not going to be shut out. The next question was about George Romero, Night of the Living Dead. It was influenced on the Richard Matheson novel. The novel, what was it called? We both came up with the answer, I Am Legend, and that is absolutely correct. So we are now 2 out of 4. All right, let's see if we can finish above 50%. And that last question was about the horror movies set in the upstate New York area near Albany, because again, this quiz appeared in the Albany Times-Union. The movie Dead of Winter, was it true or false that it was filmed at the William W. Van Ness House in Claverack, Columbia County? And the correct answer, well, let's see. First, you said false. I said true. You are correct. False is the answer. It was done in Ontario, Canada.
No way. I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Well, you had an advantage. You're Canadian.
There you go. There you
You
go.
knew this one. You knew that this one was done in Ontario, Canada, and you just kind of played innocent on it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a question for you. Have you seen online, and I want to know your take, whether it's true or false, that there is a new production from Rob Zombie based on the Freddy franchise? Have you seen articles about that? And if you think it's true?
I have not seen. I mean, I've heard some talk about bringing Freddy back.
Mm-hmm.
I know they did that in the earlier 2000s. They did it with a different actor than Robert Englund, and the reviews weren't that great. The one movie that I saw was it really didn't have much humor. It was very dark and somber, and people didn't really take to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard if Rob Zombie is involved in trying to bring this back. It wouldn't shock me, but I've not heard anything specific about it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because I read a little something, but I couldn't gauge whether or not it was true or not. And it was kind of like I thought it was a TV series that they were contemplating bringing to the market. But I think I'll have to dig a little deeper to see if that's true, because that may be kind of cool, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it seems like the kind of thing Rob Zombie would want to do.
Yeah, it does.
You know, people ask me about Rob Zombie. I'm sort of hit and miss. Some of his movies I really like. You know, we talked about in our previous episode with Lou Temple about The Devil's Rejects.
Mm-hmm.
That you know, I think that was while it's a tough movie to watch and it's very brutal, I thought it was pretty well done.
Yes. I
thought the one that came before that was even better, House of a Thousand Corpses, which featured the same villainous characters. He did a pretty good job on the Halloween remake. I was really disappointed with the Munsters. I think I mentioned that before, and that to me was a big miss on his part. Of course, that's more comedy than horror, but I just thought he totally missed on that one.
Yeah.
Perhaps ruining any chance that we'll get him as a guest on the podcast. Not that I necessarily think that was going to happen anyway, but some of his movies are really interesting. There was one that he did. It was with his wife was in it, Sherry Moon Zombie, and Lords of Salem was the movie. I thought that was really good.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The first half was outstanding, and then the third act lost a little bit of steam, but for the most part, that was an excellent film. So I think that The Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, Halloween, those are all pretty good movies. Some of the other stuff he's done, he goes so far into brutality and violence. For me, it sometimes goes over the top. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but look, I like a good horror movie, as you know, but to me, there is that line you can go over as far as blood and gore, and I'm much bigger on suspense, character development, being a little more subtle. He's not really subtle.
No, not with some of the very graphic images, but those movies that you mentioned were really good. I did like The Devil's Rejects. But one thing I really do like about him, he and again, we chatted about this before, kind of like he reuses the same cast members with his movies, which I think, it kind of brings, it's weird to say it, but kind of like comfort to his movies when you watch them because the characters feel familiar. So yeah. I do like that piece about him. So yeah, should be interesting. I'll have to dig into that article and see if I can find anything else, because I love Nightmare on Elm Street, and the original movie is going to be 40 years old this year, I believe, in October. So it's been a long time, and I'm a big Freddy fan. So I guess we'll see.
You still remember that first movie pretty well?
Oh gosh, scared me. I was not very old at the time, but loved it. And it was like, I want to say it was Johnny Depp's first role in the movies. And, I didn't know that. I had to go back and look at it because I just wouldn't have known who he was at the time. But that movie, man, that was a good movie. Scared me for years.
Great actor also who was in that was John Saxon.
Okay.
Who played, I believe, the local sheriff.
Right.
And he died just a couple years ago. He was a phenomenal actor. Did a lot of horror movies. Did Black Christmas back in 1974. Did many other movies too. And he worked with Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. When he was younger, he was really very athletic, and he always had this kind of authority figure aura to him. He was great at playing, people in authority, police officers, kind of very strong masculine figures. He was an excellent actor, and I remember him from the Freddy series of films as well. So we'll have to pick up that conversation later on as we learn more about potential interests that Rob Zombie has in bringing back Nightmare on Elm Street. Great film from the mid-1980s. Well, Tracy, thank you for joining us as always. Appreciate your time. Thanks also to our guest earlier in the episode, longtime actor Matt McCoy. We appreciate Matt being with us. We thank everybody for listening as well, joining us in this Museum of the Macabre. And we hope we'll see you again next time, right here in the Ghostly Gallery.